is a processing model that is used to understand that data. Again, most holistic people use a model that is referred to as top-down processing. And my understanding of top-down processing is that it is based largely on prior experience, and your goal or first step is to look at everything around you in your life, every interaction you have, every relationship you have, every object, and to relate it to some concept from your prior experience, and to understand it by categorizing it as that thing. And then from that point, your filter changes from taking in general sensory information to trying to find sensory information that supports that snap categorization. You can let me know in the comments if that characterization is fair or not. I don't know. Maybe it's not entirely accurate. That is my understanding. And then compared to the bottom-up processing model adopted by most autistic people, which is where you start by taking in as much of the sensory information as you can and not judging it, but understanding it, looking at the nuance, figuring it out, and then having a unique description. And then making a judgment based on what sensory information you took in. I have judgments, I will admit, about the consequences of those two, what I'll call epistemological paradigms. But from a practical sense, in terms of, one way that autistic people are disabled is that there's more data that comes in, and sometimes that data can cause physical discomfort and dysregulation and emotional discomfort and dysregulation that makes processing the data more difficult. And then, not only is it substantially more data, but the bottom-up processing is much more complicated. It's harder work to get to the end result. That's the point of top-down processing, is it's easier. We'll talk about what it's for in a minute, what I think it's for. In other words, it's just more processing to crunch that data and turn it into a conclusion for an autistic person. And that, at a practical sense, burns calories. It takes rest to recover from. And then you factor in things like, executive dysfunction and various sensory quirks that come up for me. I'm discovering them still as I go through this process. Yeah, that's kind of understanding autism and allism more as an epistemological difference, not just neurological, not just nervous system, but it's cellular all the way up through personality development. It's everything, it's holistic. while I have the names in front of me, I want to mention two of the content creators specifically that were particularly helpful. Saul Smith, in his book, The Autistic's Guide to Self-Discovery. Were indispensable to me. And Morgan Foley also has very relatable, informative, and entertaining content. But so the one conclusion that you can draw from the fact that the one key component that I also read is that in the top-down processing's search for information to support its theory, not only does it filter out things that would negate its theory, it changes the perception of the actual sensory inputs to support the theory. And so it was that detail that led me to the conclusion: if epistemology is how we create and understand knowledge, and the combination of our sensory inputs about what of substances exist outside of our bodies in the world, including our body, and our internal experience of those things is our own unique reality. I think that's, maybe not a widespread, I don't know, in the philosophical community, but I don't think it's like super out there to say that, the outcome of phenomenological philosophy, for example, and existentialism, and lots of different schools of thought about how we come to know who we are and things like that, or what's real and what's not, is that it starts with our senses, it goes through our brain, it's an internal experience. Everyone's is different to some extent, although the stuff that's out in the world seems to be relatively consistent for everyone. But that means, it means a couple of things. One, everyone is in their own reality, right? That's just a conclusion that we can all draw from that. But I have a image I'm going to share in a second to talk about that. But it means that the bridge between an allistic person and an autistic person isn't simply a communication gap. It's a gap in trying to, it's like a wormhole between realities that has to be navigated. And right now, broadly in society, in my experience, even to people to whom you tell, I am autistic, this is the thing, we're gonna have communication issues, my experiences are real, they still will not understand that there even is a gap, or will not acknowledge it in a lot of cases, or do any work to cross it. It's quite painful. It's quite painful. Here's the image. So it's it's supposed to be a 3D thing. We've got nurture, nature, and neurotype as the supposed three ways to think about contributing to personality, right? So even if nature and nurture create a broad spread because everybody has different experiences, if neurotype and you have this 96% of people would fall all on one plane. They're spread out on the 2D, but see, they're all on one plane. Whereas then all the non-allistic people, the autistic people, are everywhere, right? All up at, they have an additional dimension. And that, different realities. So One way that people currently think about that, I want to talk about.